Auburn's game plan for Missouri, it better be perfect.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping it up with the Daryl Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, of course, every Wednesday here on today's show. We'll talk about some of the negatives that come with maybe coming after a bye week, as well as, hey, Auburn was represented by Bruce Pearl and Janai Broom and Denver Jones up in Birmingham for SEC basketball media days. We'll discuss that. But Daryl, to me, the biggest benefit of this, and Hugh Freeze alluded to it on Monday, they had already started using this week to prep and create a game plan for Auburn heading to Missouri. And to me, Daryl, like, we've seen Hugh Freeze and the staff put together really solid game plans. This one has to be perfect. To save this season, the game plan on Saturday must be perfect, and they've got to use it extra time to make sure, because if it's not, it's on the coaching staff at this point.
Yeah, wow, there's a lot to unpack there. I've got more questions than answers when you bring this topic up. First of all, how many scripted plays will come out of this bye week, right? Because when you have 2 weeks to put in a game plan, there should be a lot of scripted plays, and we've seen Auburn be pretty successful with scripted plays. In fact, dare I say, Payton Thorne functions better under scripted plays with, certain things with guidance and direction.
Sure.
Unfortunately, Auburn did not get to take its bye week and scout Missouri as effectively as they would have liked to, because they were playing UMass. So, you would have liked to have been seeing them play somebody, maybe another SEC team where they had to use some plays in different formations. They probably went very vanilla, very basic. I think that this game plan, Zach, is going to be an algebra game plan, meaning there's going to be a lot of pluses and a lot of minuses. Gosh, I sounded just like Jake Crane when I said that.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah,
maybe so. It's not a bad thing, by the way.
But I think there's going to be some things added to this game plan, and then there's going to be some things simplified and taken away.
I hope so.
I hope so. Personnel added, and maybe perhaps some personnel seeing less snaps.
Yeah. So I guess the argument against that is when it's made sense to make this drastic change. Like, sometimes we don't really see Hugh Freeze do that. Like, Hugh Freeze wants to run his offense. And right now, I don't know if his personnel needs to be running the final version of what he wants his offense to be. This true RPO where everybody's making the decisions at the line or just after the football is snapped. I think sometimes they need to just line up and run a play. And I think more times than not, that play needs to involve Jarquez Hunter. I mean, we've seen Missouri give up points pretty consistently, allowed 21 to Boston College, allowed 27 to Vanderbilt, 41 to Texas A&M. There's no reason why Auburn shouldn't be able to score against Missouri, and they need to do it on the ground. That's what Texas A&M was able to do so well against the Tigers, the Missouri Tigers, just a few weeks ago. I hope they really grab that with this extra game plan and say, hey, we're going to do something a little different after the bye week, and we're going to use the best player that we have on offense, and that is Jarquez Hunter, and he's going to be the focal point of this offense.
Two key words I want to pull out of what you just said and focus on: drastic and little. I think, number one, I agree with you. I'm not expecting anything to be drastic in this bye week.
I'm not either.
When I say addition and subtraction, I mean little tweaks here and there. Yeah. Like, I'll give you a specific example. Instead of Jarquez Hunter getting 15 or 16 carries, maybe he gets 21 or 22. That may not seem like a drastic change.
I would call that drastic, Daryl. Well, I would call that increase drastic.
Okay, but it shouldn't be. 5 or 6 carries more for Jarquez Hunter should not be drastic. It may end up being drastic. It may end up giving you more drastic results. But that shouldn't be a drastic concept that I'm going to give the best back in the SEC 5 or 6 more carries a game, if you see what I'm saying. Maybe Malcolm Simmons and Perry Thompson get in for 3 or 4 more targets and plays that they normally get in, and you give less to a Camden Brown. And so that's what I mean by little tweaks here and there. I think the untouchables and people you leave the heck alone and don't change and don't tweak is Keandre Lambert-Smith. Keep feeding him. You don't want to give Hunter any less carries. You want to give him more carries. And I think the offensive line alone and try to get some more continuity and some cohesiveness.
Yeah, I won't push back on that. I'm okay with all of that. For context, Jarquez Hunter has 78 carries on the ground this year. That is 13 a game. And you just talking about choice. And now there are some caveats to that. Like they didn't play in the second half in some of these games, the games where they were able to score a lot of points. So it's a little skewed, but still, like, this is a guy who needs 20 touches a game. And it's just crazy to me that he's not. Now, he said Monday, Hugh Freeze did, that Jarquez Hunter is going to be a larger part of the offense. It's a shame that it takes a bye week to get to that point. But if you took the over-under at 19.5 touches for Jarquez Hunter, I'll even lump in receptions.
Oh, easy. This is taking candy from a baby.
You're taking the over?
Absolutely.
I'm taking the under, Daryl. I don't think we see it.
If Auburn gives Jarquez Hunter, we're talking about total touches, less than 19, then there needs to be some sort of investigation into the program. Something's going on. Okay. That's ridiculous. He should get 20 carries, period.
He's gotten that. I think he's had 19 touches once all season.
Yeah, that is just criminal. I mean, again, I'm not saying go back to the days where you run the wheels off Kerryon Johnson, but I see a scenario where you give him 20 carries and you let him get 2 or 3 passes out of the backfield. He had
19 touches, 17 carries, 2 receptions against Oklahoma, so 19 total. And then against New Mexico, I didn't realize he was that big of a part of the offense against New Mexico. 20 carries against New Mexico, 1 reception. Outside of that, it's been less than 15 or 15 or less in every game.
And it's not that Auburn's been playing from so far behind. I mean, a 1-score game, you should
correct.
still run the football, I mean, that's what I'm saying. If
you're
down
against Oklahoma,
scores, I get it.
You're winning. You're winning the game.
You keep feeding him the football and you win the game.
Yeah, you could say the same against Cal.
It down their throat.
Yes, 100%. 100%. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It just seems like such a no-brainer. Like Jarquez Hunter has to be a part of this offense. And I don't want to downplay it, but I think Auburn, the mismatch that Auburn needs to take care of is Auburn's offensive line versus Missouri's front 7, paired with the running back. And I think you run Payton Thorne as well. And I think you run Damari Austin. I think you get Jeremiah Cobb involved. I think you get short passes behind the line of scrimmage, short, simple, easy stuff to Malcolm Simmons and Cam Coleman. Just get the ball in these playmakers' hands and force Missouri to tackle you consistently. And I think Auburn wins the football game. But I just don't think that's what Hugh Freeze is going to do. I don't think Hugh Freeze wants that type of offense. I think he wants this sophisticated RPO type system where everybody's doing these reads at the line instead of just lining up and beating somebody. But if Auburn goes up there and just lets the playmakers force Missouri to tackle them on a consistent basis, I think Auburn wins. I think Auburn wins the football game.
And I have a feeling about Rivaldo Fairweather in this game.
Okay. I like that.
I watched them play Boston College and somebody else. I can't remember early in the year, and the tight ends seemed to be either open, like quarterbacks missed them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or they had some good statistics. I'm trying to recall. It was early in the season, but it looked like the tight ends were in the middle of the field. There was some exposure there. So let's see if Fairweather can get involved.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Missouri. I don't think Missouri's defense is great, but who knows what Auburn's going to do on the road? I mean, we just don't know. All right. You've got a positive about Auburn coming out of the bye week. Let's jump into that in just a moment. Right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets for anything. I used Game Time this past weekend to go to the Pats-Texans game. You're going to a game in a few weeks. I believe you use Game Time as well. Daryl, it's the best place to buy tickets. It's so quick and easy and effortless. And you'll also know you're getting the best deal no matter what.
Sitting on the couch, watching some NFL games with some people, and I said, I really want to go to an NFL game here in the next couple of weeks, and I think I'll choose the Titans because I want to be outside in the cold. So I pull up Game Time, and I pick a couple games, and I'm like, wow, these are very affordable, and I like these seats. So that's who I'll use when I finally pull the trigger to figure out who's going. It's Game Time.
Yep, that's right. That's right. And, I mean, people paying money to go see Will Levis. It's amazing. It's amazing. People are doing it.
I might be going to see who they're playing more than I am.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand. Hey, you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Daryl, what time is it?
Game Time.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Daryl, your biggest positive coming out of a bye week is what for the Auburn Tigers?
I know it's so obvious, and I know it's just so simple, but it's the getting healthier and getting some of these players that are banged up healthier on the field. There are key players that have been playing hurt for a couple weeks. Yeah. How much that affects their performance, it's hard to gauge. It's hard to measure. But I know when you come out of a bye week, you're so much fresher.
Sure.
So much more, not only mentally focused, and there's an edge there, but obviously the physical toll that a six games into the college football season takes. I think Auburn coming out of this healthier and guys playing, even though they're playing before, playing not so banged up, is going to be the biggest positive to take out of this bye week.
Yeah. Are there players specifically that you're mentioning with this as far as, okay, these guys are going to be more healthy?
Tall Miller.
Okay.
Payton Thorne.
Okay.
Cam Coleman.
Those are three important players.
Yeah.
No question about it. No question about it. Yeah. And I mean, I think there's been some guys who are banged up on the defensive front as well. So, yeah. And I know Missouri didn't have their hands full by any stretch of the imagination traveling to Massachusetts to take on UMass this past weekend. But
who travels to Massachusetts last weekend? Who does that?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine
traveling to Massachusetts and looking at all the nice leaves?
A lot of pretty trees up there. No question about it. No question about it. Yeah, but you're still having to play a game. You're not able to recover as much, and I do think that's going to be something that will point in Auburn's favor there. No question. No question. As far as the negatives of coming out of a bye week, something that Hugh Freeze said in his press conference earlier this week, he kind of called out the leadership a little bit. He talked about how these young guys, when you're building a culture, there needs to be like 4 or 5 guys that these young guys look at. And he said, I don't know who these guys are looking at right now. We don't really have those guys yet, which, wow. I think that's pretty heavy stuff. But during a bye week, you've got a lot of time for stuff to just sit and for folks to pull out their phones and you hear things. And so I just kind of wonder what that looks like, because, I mean, just to quote Hugh Freeze or to paraphrase Hugh Freeze, like, I don't know if that leadership in the locker room is as prevalent from those older guys as he would like. Does that have any sort of negative impact that you're just kind of sitting there in that loss for so long?
Make no mistake that whatever your warts are, whatever your flaws are, they get amplified during the bye week when you're not playing, because there's a lot of noise. The noise ratchets up, right? Because you're sitting around, like you said, not playing football. You have time to get on social media. You have time to kind of think about, which could be your worst own enemy when you get that in your mind. And so, yeah, the noise gets louder. It's up to the coaches and the leadership council to drown that out. And to see, this is where coaches that are really, really successful, and I don't know if Auburn did this, but I'm just throwing this out there. Coaches that I've seen over the years in college football or college athletics that have been very successful do some sort of team building or retreat during the bye week. They get their team away from the complex. They get them away from the noise, and they get them bonded up and closer. And this is the time that's the time to do it when you have a bye week. I hope Auburn took advantage of that and did it. But I know there were a lot of coaches that used to do that, and it was very successful.
Yeah, we'll see. It sounds like with the timing of the fall break, they may have given them more time off. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, just coming off of a loss, and just the way the whole season has gone, you need somebody to step up. You need somebody to step up both vocally, emotionally, and then obviously the guys physically on the field, they've got to step up. And just nobody's really like stepped up to make that play yet, Daryl. And hopefully they'll get the opportunity to this weekend.
Yeah, mine is a little bit different. I know that a lot of people, including myself, kept saying this bye week could not have come at a better time. It could not have come at a better time because you're losing. But after thinking about it, this isn't how everybody is or how everybody thinks. I'm just wired to be that when I'm coming off a loss, the last thing I want to do in this world is wait 2 weeks to play again. You know what I'm saying? You're itching. And now if it's a tough loss, even more, you're like, oh, I cannot wait until toe meets leather. If you get blown out, maybe it's different. Maybe you need to lick your wounds and reset. But I've just always been subscribed to that school or that theory that, oh, we just got beat and now I got to wait 2 weeks to play. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. That's torture.
Yep.
That's just me. I mean, fans think that way. Coaches think that way. Players think that way. That could be negative when it transitions into what you said, the sitting around, the waiting, the idle time, instead of just getting right back into it. But this team was so weary mentally and physically that I think this is one of those situations where it could be a negative, but it won't turn out to be because I think they probably needed it more than they needed to play again.
Yeah. It just depends on the personality of this team, and we don't know how they respond to a week off when there's been so much adversity. And I don't feel super great about it just because of Hugh Freeze's comments earlier this week, specifically about the lack of leadership from the upperclassmen. But hopefully that was just kind of him putting something out there to inspire and motivate some of these guys to step up, and hopefully they answer the call, right? I mean, that's why coaches say those types of things. I don't think he was doing that just to throw shade at his upperclassmen. I think he was saying, hey, I need somebody to step up here. And hopefully somebody does. And we'll see some sort of step forward as a program and as a football team as they travel to Missouri on Saturday. In Birmingham yesterday, Auburn basketball was represented by Bruce Pearl, Janai Broome, and Denver Jones. So excited about this team. Who needs to step up outside of Janai Broome? That's the big question, Daryl, and we tackle it in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Daryl, can you imagine? Can you imagine wagering anywhere than our friends at FanDuel?
I absolutely could not.
No,
I don't even entertain the idea.
Nope. Auburn, a 5.5-point dog right now, according to our friends at FanDuel. Auburn plus 5.5. I don't hate that pick. I don't hate the pick at all, Daryl.
No, because there are some people that think this game goes down to the wire, to the final gun. And if that's the case, Auburn, other than the Georgia game, has been in every game they've played. Single digits, one score game. So that adds up. It really does.
It does. And eventually they're going to win one of these close ones, and hopefully it turns things around. So we'll see. But hey, you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's over at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. Final few minutes on today's Locked On Auburn. Auburn basketball, the season's so close. It is getting closer and closer and closer, Daryl. Bruce Pearl, Janai Broome, Denver Jones all spoke to the media yesterday up at SEC Media Days for basketball. In your mind, who needs to step up for this team? We all know Janai Broome is going to be the guy, and he's rated as one of the best players in all of college basketball this season. Outside of Janai Broome, we all know we need a big season for Janai Broome at Auburn. Who's that next guy who's like, I need more of him this season? Maybe he's not getting the amount of discussion and chatter as he should.
Put a poll up on X, and there were 3 or 4 obvious ones that I'm not going to mention their names because I don't want to spoil it. It's still there to vote. And I didn't put my guy on there on purpose. I'm a little sneaky.
You're so sneaky.
Cheney Johnson.
Oh, that's a good one.
That 4 position with Hudson and Cheney Johnson is the only, in my opinion, question mark going into this Auburn basketball season from a roster point. You have 3-point guards, 3 shooting guards, multiple wings. You even got 2 5s with Broome and Cardwell. The 4 position, unless Broome plays a ton of 4, is a question mark to me with Cheney Johnson and Jaheim Hudson. Hudson to transfer from SMU. If Cheney Johnson can step up, and I'm saying just make a small leap.
Yeah.
Close to double digits in scoring, 6 rebounds a game. Hudson comes off the bench and gives you half of that. Then you look at the totality of the 4 position, not an individual player, and what that position is giving you from a production standpoint. It starts with Cheney Johnson. Cheney Johnson has to establish himself as the lead dog at the 4 position, the undisputed starter, and give Auburn 20 minutes, 18 minutes of highly productive basketball. If he does that, the rest of the positions I think are so solid and so versatile, Auburn can really, really achieve lofty goals if Cheney Johnson steps up and plays a bigger role.
I've just been mentally preparing for Janai to play a ton of 4 because that was so much of the chatter, and it sounds like that was a big part of Dylan Cardwell coming back based off of some of the rumor and chatter is to, he could play at the 5 and Janai could play at the 4. That doesn't discredit anything you just said. Janai can start at the 4 and play more minutes at the 4, and still Cheney Johnson needs to be able to do those numbers that you just said. So I think both of these things, I'll steal your line, both of these things can be true at once. But I just mentally, I haven't really thought about 4 guys potentially playing at the 4 on a consistent basis. But it makes sense. It makes sense. It just depends on how much.
Because we left out Chris Moore. I mean, he's going to play some 4 as well because the wings are so with Ja'Kai Howard and Miles Kelly and Chad Baker-Mazara. Man, that's just a lot of experience.
Yeah, it's almost too much. I'm really fascinated to see how Bruce handles it because
you can go so big. You can go with a big lineup with Broome at the 4, Cardwell at the 5, Chad at the 3, Miles at the 2, Denver at the 1, and now you're going big. You are going big. You can go small with 3 guards and slide Cheney to the 4 and have Janai at the 5. There's versatility there to whoever your opponent is, what's more beneficial. Auburn hasn't been able to do that for a long time and be successful at both, be dangerous at both. So I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned about the lack of talk in conversation about JP Pegues. I really am. Bruce, I've heard him speak at an event live and talk to him a little bit in Montgomery. I saw what he was talking about today. And it's Denver Jones. And then, oh, by the way, he slides in Pegues and says Pegues will play some 1. I always felt like Pegues was going to be the starter. So I'm still a little bit concerned, and I've said this on your previous shows, that he's not getting more buzz than he is.
Yeah. And this wouldn't be the first time a point guard has come in. We've kind of expected a lot, and then somebody else kind of steals either the job or the minutes or the show. My answer to this question, as far as who needs to step up the most after Janai Broome, is Denver Jones for this very reason. And I asked you this last time. I don't know if it was whenever we talked about basketball last on the show. I asked you, did you think it was more Denver Jones playing well or JP Pegues, not living up to what we thought he could be? And you said both. And that's probably true. That's the most likely answer.
Well, let me quantify that now. Let's talk about what the percentage is. I'd say it's 65-35. It's 65 Denver Jones really improving and really playing well, and 35% JP Pegues not being where he needs to be.
Yeah.
So that's better news than it would be if it was 50-50. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and this could totally be the thing. I mean, they're going to try so many different lineups throughout this non-conference slate where they could be a few games into it, and then maybe Pegues kind of gets his feet up under him and into the system, and he does what he needs to do. I don't think that would be a crazy thing at all. I mean, this guy's played a good bit of college basketball, so I'm not worried about it.
Probably start, and this is obviously something that just broke in the last 24 hours.
Yeah,
is Auburn has scheduled a exhibition game on the road of all places on October 27th against Furman, JP Pegues' old school from last year.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot imagine him not being in the starting lineup at the point guard when that happens.
It's a good point.
Maybe that'll inject some confidence into him, and we'll see.
If they do that, if they start him at the 1, who do you start at the 2?
Denver.
Okay, so Denver's a starter no matter what.
Yeah, and I would start Miles Kelly at the 3.
You start Janai at the 4, then Dylan at the 5?
No, I'd start Cheney at the 4 and Broome at the 5 just to start at C. Because if you want Cheney Johnson to make that leap, you've got to give him the playing time and you've got to give him the confidence to do that. He's not going to improve the club from the tub, meaning sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah. Did you just come up with that, or is that something people
No,
say?
that's a Mike Tomlinism, but he never sticks to it. So he said you can't make the club from the tub, but people miss tons of time and he still lets them make the team. So, but it's a nice phrase.
Got it. Sweet. I love that you hold Mike Tomlin accountable. That's very good of you.
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
I do. Yep. He says the standard is the standard. Yes, there it is.
There it is. Daryl Dapprich, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Well, follow me on X, DAP6410, Instagram, Daryl Dap. I'm with you Wednesdays and Fridays. It was weird not being with you last weekend. We do the reaction show, and on road games, we do the live show too. So we kind of double dip there.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, please like the video. Please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and please rate the show if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes. Helps the show out a ton. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.